Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaika Murtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. One of the experiences I think everyone has is to accept certain less in whatever way today for a larger gain tomorrow. From the time we are children, we have to study for an exam, and somebody else whose school is finished exam earlier, he goes out to play. And one feels jealous. I also want to go and play, but I still have exams coming up. So in a sense, I accept that I cannot get this immediate sukha in some form. Going out to play is what children consider sukha. And I have to undergo this tapas in order to gain something bigger later. Now look at life at all stages, the same thing happens. We sacrifice some form of sukha today so that I might gain something bigger tomorrow. A person who wants to go to Svargaloka, for him a life is prescribed, which is pretty strenuous. Against that, a person who does not accept what the Shastra says, or what any other religion says for that matter. Because every religion tells you that if you behave and live your life in a certain way, which are restricted way, which does not allow you to do some things, then you can hope to gain a life after death. Every religion believes that. Every religion says that. You can hope to have a life which is so much nicer. In fact, some religions tell you it is eternal. But to gain that, you have to sacrifice some immediate benefits. So like that, at every stage in life, we tend to accept certain level of pain, suffering, difficulties, with an intent that later we will get something much bigger, much better. So going to Swargaloka, we accept that Shastra says going to Swargaloka is fantastic. We will see that also in this Upanishad. But for that, in this lifetime, during this lifetime, you live a very disciplined life. Do what the Shastra tells you to do. Every religion tells you that. Some religion has certain commandments. You follow these commandments, even though you may like to do something which is proscribed in your commandment, don't do it. Why? For your better life later. Here at one stage you will see that Nachiketa asks for a boon. He says, teach me how one can gain Swargaloka or Brahmaloka. And for that, there are very clear rules of how one should live one's life. Later, what happens? This is the second boon that Nachiketa asks for, as we will see. He asks for a third boon, which is Brahmajnanam, which is what we've been trying to understand all this time. All this time, our Upanishad and the Bashyam is saying, Vidya Upanishad ityuchyate. What kind of Vidya? Brahmatma Tattva Vidya. If you gain this, Brahmatma Tattvam, if you understand it, you will gain absolute freedom. The catch is, you do it by understanding what you is. Whatever you think you will gain by defining you as in a certain way, as my Karya Karana Sanghata, my body, mind, sense complex, I will gain certain things that I want to gain. But if you redefine yourself, and that redefinition is the key, is what Upanishads teach us. The whole thing turns on its head. That Upanishad, by its very definition, is that Vidya. And we saw that in the last section. That Upanishad, Vidya Upanishad iti uchyate. Why? What does the Vidya do? Avidya dehe samsara bijasya visharanat. What is it? Samsara bija? Samsaram is what? A whole life of sukha dukkha, sukha dukkha. Typically, sukha sukha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, followed by sukha, sukha, sukha sukha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha dukkha, dukkha. This is samsara. So that samsara destroyed. Swamiji, Upanishad says that if you can get to Swargaloka, then there's no, this pattern changes. This pattern is only sukha, 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 sukha. And if that pattern changes, that is what I want. But that pattern, while it changes when you go to Swargaloka, you can call it moksha by stretching your imagination a little bit. Because this state of sukha, 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 sukha in Swargaloka has a beginning and has an end. What happens afterwards? While it is true, we expect it's true because Shastra says so, that in Swargaloka, the pattern is sukha, 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 sukha. But it will end. However long it may be, it will end. But I don't want it to end. That is what I'm striving for. That's what I'm trying to work so hard for. If it is going to end, I might as well work here. Gain some sukha, some dukkha, some gain sukha, some dukkha. Why should I work so hard to go to another loka and gain this apekshika sukham? I can get it here. Good question. Every religion tells you this is where the religion stops. Religion is not able to answer this question. You have to step up above this. So he says here, samsara bijasya visharanat. This samsara that is creating these problems for me, which is such a combination of sukha and dukkha with much, much, much more dukkha than sukha. Even the sukha that I get in the samsara is accompanied by dukkha, is preceded by dukkha, is succeeded by dukkha. That I don't want. So that samsara visharanat, if I can find a way of destroying that so that I get to a state where I have sukha all the time. So something like Swargaloka is sukha all the time as long as you are in that Swargaloka. It is as good as saying that sukha that when I sleep is good as long as I'm asleep. When I go into the dream state and get a nightmare, gone. When I wake up in the morning, back is hurting. Gone. All these are apekshika sukha only. How can I get rid of this totally? This samsara, tasya visharanat. Visharanat is himsanat or vinashanat. By getting rid of all this completely, can I get to a state where it is not time dependent? Because even Swargaloka is time dependent. Maybe very long time, but still time dependent. So that samsara visharanat, himsanat, vinashanat. So it doesn't come back after that. Whereas Swargaloka, etc., I will go again, that sometime it will come back. The samsara will reappear in the life. Samsara bijasya visharanat, himsanat, vinashanat, iti anena artha yogena. With this kind of this thing, complete removal of this whole concept of sukha dukkha, that level is what I'm looking for. And that he says is that Vidya is called Upanishad. Who can get this? So he says Mumukshuvaha. One who understands that is possible, who has Shraddha that is possible, and because of that Shraddha, I don't care for these short-term, time-dependent sukha. I don't care for them because they are a hindrance to me to gain that sukha, which is not time-dependent, which is not place-dependent, which is not object-dependent. Ye mumukshuvaha, who have understood that drishta, anushravika vishaya are all not what I'm seeking. Therefore, I have vishaya vitrishna. For them, esham avidyadehe samsara bijasya visharanat. Whole thing starts with this wrong notions that we develop. Avidya. Once that Upanishad Shabdam is understood, and one can work towards this state of being, which is not time dependent. That Vidya, for that adhikari, for that person who's understood like this, he says, the quotes from this Upanishad itself. This Upanishad itself says, Nichayatam mrityumukhat pramuchyate. Such a mumukshu who understands this with the help of the Upanishad, with the help of a guru, such a person, mrityumukhat pramuchyate. The understanding is now clear. What is subject to mrityu? What is subject to sukha dukkha? What is subject to mrityu and jiva is not the definition and understanding of I. Such a person, mrityumukhat pramuchyate. Sukha dukkha, labha labha, jara maranam. All of these are not what I am looking for. So, the adhikari, by understanding the word Upanishad itself, where he understands the Shad Dhatu, Shadildr, with the Upa and Ni prefixes, with the Quip Pratyaya, such a person gains that state which every individual wants, but may not know he wants or she wants. Tatacha vakshati nichayatam mrityumukhat pramuchyate. These mumukshus who have understood and therefore have the vitrishna for both laukika and alaukika gains, knowing that that is not what I want, that is, relatively speaking, valueless. Such a mumukshu, purvokta visheshan mumukshun. he gains Brahma Prapti. He or she gains Brahman. What do you mean gains Brahman? Is it like another $1 million that you gain? No. It is simply an understanding of the nature of the self, of the nature of what we've been calling Brahman all this time. They are the same. Param Brahma Gamayati, because this Gam Dhatu is also explained. Param Brahma Gamayati. Iti Brahma Gamayatritvena Yoga Brahma Vidya Upanishad. The Brahma Vidya, which teaches us the nature of Brahman as being I, nature of myself. Every time I say I, every time I say myself, my mind continues to work in that rut, saying that I is within this body-mind sense complex. But clear understanding is something which clearly negates this, despite one's experiences in life, despite the fact that even after understanding, one continues to work and live and experience life as the body-mind sense complex. What is the Brahma Prapti? Again, he quotes from the same Upanishad. Tatha cha vakshyati Brahma Praptah Virajaha Abhut Vimrutyuhu. Brahma Praptah Virajaha Abhut Vimrutyuhu. What is Brahma Prapti? What happens when you gain the understanding of Brahman, understanding of this I? See, when you have that understanding of I, there is no I left. In the sense that we understand I earlier. What kind of understanding is this? I want to understand I, and then Upanishad, there is no I. That is the understanding. That Tatha Bhakshati Brahma Praptaha Virajaha. Viraja means one has no Ragadvesha, nothing. Where is Ragadvesha? Where is the possibility of Ragadvesha? There is nothing. Therefore, Vimrutyuhu, Ragadvesha, Sukha, Dukha, Labha, Labha, Janma, Mrityu, they're all Dvandva. Many places you would have seen this understanding is Dvandva Atitaha. Any Dvandva you take, that which lights up the Dvandva is what we're talking about. Therefore, transcends any Dvandva, any kind of Dvandva. All Dvandvas belongs to samsara. Anything that transcends this Dvandva, because it is not part of it. Dvandva is recognized, is known, because of which. That Brahman is what we're trying to understand. So, Acharya takes us through the meaning of the word Upanishad by breaking it down into its component parts. The dhatu itself, the prefixes, the suffix, that which makes us happen is called Upanishad. Now this Brahman, we are trying to understand Nirguna Brahman. One that has no guna, no characteristics. The moment you have characteristics of any kind, it's a limited thing. But to get to that place also, there is a possibility of understanding Saguna Brahman through Upasana, through karma and Upasana. So Acharya says that also is included in Upanishad. Not everybody is ready for understanding Nirguna Brahman. There are many who will need Saguna Brahman. Therefore, Bhakti, Ishvara Bhakti is a non-negotiable component. Without the Ishvara Bhakti, without the grace of Ishvara, who, from our perspective, when you look at it from the Paramarthika perspective, there is no second. But to get to that state, I need that second. I need the Ishvara. And therefore, I need Bhakti. I need the grace of Ishvara. Therefore, I continue to pray. Therefore, I continue to do all that is prescribed. It is a inevitable part of the progress to gaining the knowledge of Nirguna Brahma as a self. Now, after all this, we can start putting self within the inverted commas. What self? So he says, like I told you, in the second boon that Nachiketa asks for, Nachiketa has been given a beautiful story. And every stage of the story, you will see so much to extract from this. In the second boon that Nachiketa asked, he was given 3 boons by Yamadharmaraja. The second boon, he asks for learning that technology you want, by which one can gain Svargaloka. And by that time, Yamadharmaraja is so impressed with Nachiketa that he promptly grants him that. He grants him that and says it will be called Nachiketa Agnihi. This Agni Vidya, which is different from Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is that Vidya which clearly takes us to that state which is not dependent on time, not dependent on place, not dependent on object. But this Agni Vidya, which Nachiketa asks for, Yamadharmaraja unhesitatingly gives it to him. Teaches him this Agni Vidya. Not only does he teach him, he's so thoroughly impressed with Nachiketa's that he says it will be called Nachiketa Agnihi by the word. So Acharya touches upon that at this point. Even the Saguna Brahma Jnanam is also Upanishad. Because Upanishad covers that also. Upasana. We've seen also in Ishavasya Upanishad how Upasana is praised. Here also it does that. So Acharya says, and we can read together, Lokadi Brahma Jagyaha Yognista Vishayaya Vidyaya Vitiyena Varena Artyamanayaha Swarga Loka Phala Prapti Hetutvena
स्वर्गलोकफलप्राप्तिहेतुत्वेन
गर्भवास
गर्भवास
जन्मजरादि
जन्मजरादि
उपद्रव वृन्दस्य
उपद्रववृन्दस्य
लोकान्तरे
लोकान्तरे
औनपुन्येन
औनःपुन्येन
प्रवृत्तस्य
प्रवृत्तस्य
अवसादयतृत्वेन
अवसादित्वेन
शैथिल्यापादनेन
शैथिल्यापादनेन
आत्मर्थयोगात्
आत्मर्थयोगात्
अग्निविद्या अपि
अग्निविद्या अपि
उपनिषद् इत्युच्यते.
उपनिषद् इत्युच्यते.
This Agni Yoga, Agni Vidya, is also called Upanishad. Upanishad, the word, includes also this Agni Vidya. So for everybody this is applicable. By gaining the apekshika sukham offered by this Agni Vidya. Why apekshika sukham? Because there is a time bound. Apekshika means relative sukham. Like any other relative sukham. I eat a lot of ice cream. There is apekshika sukham in eating ice cream because I love ice cream. Afterwards, I have stomachache. Because that apekshika sukham that I enjoyed while eating ice cream ends. Then the second part of the cycle starts. Anything you can take. Apekshika sukham. This ice cream eating is a very short-term apekshika. As long as the ice cream stays on my tongue, there is sukham. So I need to add by adding one more spoonful into the mouth. Apekshikam sukham extended for some more time. Then one more spoonful, extended by one more. There comes a time when the additional spoonful of ice cream does not give me even apekshika sukham. Whereas Svargaloka may be apekshika sukham on an extended basis. Svargaloka may have a time frame which is very different from our time frame. We may experience the sukha in the Svargaloka for a very long time. Because in the Svargaloka, this may be only short term in Svargaloka, but measured on earth time, Mrityaloka time, it may be many, many years. What happens at the end of that? It is apekshikam because that ends. So even Svargaloka ends. But there is nothing wrong in saying, I want that Svargaloka. In fact, people argue that if you take the whole Veda, the Karmakanda portion, which is a huge portion compared to the Jnanakanda portion, talks about only these kind of things. how to gain apekshika sukha. Why should I not give importance there? Please give importance. Any kind of apekshika. Then can I give importance also to apekshika sukha of gaining wealth? Artha, kama, dharma, anything. They're all apekshika only. All this also he says, in this meaning of the dhatu, Agnividya api Upanishad ityuchyate. This Agnividya, Vidya that was taught to Nachiketas to gain Svargaloka, is also called Upanishad. Because this Agnividya Nachiketas asked for, Lokadi Brahmajagnya. Brahmajagnya is one who knows everything about this Brahman, about this Jagat. Brahmaja is the word that is born out of Brahman. Brahmajagnya is one who understands Brahman. So Brahmajagnya is the creator who knows everything. Because he created the whole Jagat. No? That Brahmaji as different from Brahman. The Brahmaji, who is the Karanam for the entire Loka. Lokadi, who is the Hetu for the entire Loka. Yaha Agnistad Vishayaya, Vidyaya, that Vidya also, Agni Vidya. That with Dvitiyena Varena Prarthaya Mamanaya, that which was being asked for by Nachiketa as a second boon. For what? For the purpose of Svargaloka Phala Prapti Hetutvena. For gaining Svargaloka. So that method, that Agni Vidya, which will give access to Svargaloka, when I do that today, I'm not going to get there today. I have to get rid of this Sharira. That Sharira has to go. It has to go into natural life, die. Then I can hope to go to Svargaloka. Svargaloka Phala Prapti Hetutvena. And what happens in Svargaloka? This is again from the Shastra only. Garbhavasa Janma Jaradi Upadrava Vrindasya. Our problems start from birth. There's Garbhavasa. And there is Janma. Then all the changes take place. At every stage there is Upadrava. Things I don't want. Presume the embryo within the uterus is saying, come on, I need to get out, I need to get out, I need to get out into this world. And you're a child, all the problems of childhood, babyhood. Then you're a child, all the problems of a child. Then you're a young man or woman with its set of problems. Eventually, one has to grow old. We know the 6 changes that the body has to go through. It has to go through all those changes and reaches the stage of apeksha. Not apeksha. Descent. Nasha. And eventually die also. All of us know the problems of old age. Jara. Slowly, one by one, all the components start failing. I need soda glasses for seeing. If somebody tells you something, what? What did you say? Hearing goes. Seeing goes. And then when I sit down to get up, I need help. Back goes. Everything goes. Ati jati parinamati, one by one. Eventually it will die. But Shastra says, you don't have any of these upadrava in Svargaloka. You suddenly appear in Svargaloka with an adult Sharira. I don't know what kind of Sharira you will have there. But you'll have some Sharira presumably appropriate for Svargaloka, which will never age, which is not subject to any roga, which is not subject presumably to things like hunger and thirst. Obviously can't be this Sharira, it has to be some other type of Sharira. Therefore, that which is Garbhavasa, Janma, Jaradi, Upadrava, Vrindasya. Vrindasya means that Samuha. The entire Samuha of these Upadrava which the physical body and the mind goes through when you live the 60, 70, 80, 100 years on this Martiloka. Whatever number of years one might live in Svargaloka, none of these apply. But here what happened? Vauna Punyena. This happened again and again and again. Sharira is born again in some form. Next Sharira may be in form of a tortoise or a snail. We don't know. Again and again it's born. Again and again you go through the whole process. Same Viparinima, Apakshaya, Maranam, back again. None of this is applicable in the Svargaloka. And these are avasadayatrutvena, because they are not applicable. They are destroyed. Therefore, this kind of apekshika moksham, if you want to call it that, not a really good term. Apekshika sukham is a better term. This kind of apekshika sukham, in that sense, dhatu artha yogat. In that sense, api Upanishad ityuchyate. It is Agni Vidya is also called Upanishad. How do you say that? Acharya in writing the Bashyam will quote from some Shastra only. Here he is quoting directly from this Upanishad itself. Earlier we saw he quoted from this Upanishad. Where is it? Brahma prapto virajo nichayatvam mrityumukha pramuchyate. Brahma praptaha virajaha abhut vimrityutu. Again quotes from the same Upanishad, Kathopanishad only. Svargaloka amritatvam bhajante. So by this Agni Vidya, one reaches Here reaches makes a lot of sense. Gametritvena. Svargaloka, one reaches because it's still time bound. There is going involved. So here, that going makes sense. There, Svargaloka, Amritatvam bhajante. One enjoys Amritatvam. But this Amritatvam is Apekshika Amritatvam. From the viewpoint of looking at it from the Mrittiloka, our Loka, it looks so long that it looks like endless Amritatvam. In fact, one of the problems we have in discussing with people from the West, one of the problems they had also when they came here, is that philosophically, this kind of our thinking, you can think of it, if you want an imagery, as a huge spiral. Huge. Everything moves on the spiral. Typically, the Western philosophy tends to look at life as a linear progression. Now, if you have a linear progression on a scale, let us say between 1 and 1,000, and you have a huge spiral which runs into billions and billions, you've seen the kind of numbers that we have in our accounting system. Then if you take a small segment of that, which is 1,000, that segment will look linear. Because the whole perspective is now narrowed. In fact, if you take a large circle and take a segment, it will look linear, approximately linear. That is the problem. Because we are talking about scales which on the small side is subatomic and the large side is more than cosmic. The idea of kalpa, etc., is something which is not there in the Western system of accounting. So, Amritatvam, when we talk of Amritatvam in various lokas, the time scales are different. Brahmaji's half a day is one kalpa, runs into millions of earth years. So that Amritatvam is very different from this Amritatvam. So definition of Upanishad itself, Acharya brings out saying it is one is when we are clear about what is Brahman as Nirguna, one which is Akhanda, indivisible, Avyaya, without any parts. All these words we come across, which is therefore not time-bound, not space-bound, and not object-bound. That is one way of understanding the word Upanishad. But you also can understand the word Upanishad as Apekshika Satyam. Relative. All right. Now, we said in the beginning that Acharya wrote, I am going to write a Alpagrantham, Vritti. Do you remember? That's what he mentioned right in the beginning. I am going to write a Vritti. Not a full-blown Bashyam. Remember the difference? In a Vritti, Acharya will expand on the Upanishad words, which is typically in cryptic sutra form, and explain the words, explain the concepts, the ideas, and how one should interpret them. But he will not go into objections by the Purva Pakshi normally. In a Bhashyam, he would look at every kind of Purva Pakshi and how he or she interprets the whole thing. Analyze it and show how that will not work. So you will find in many of the Bhashyams, including Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam, including Kathopanishad Bhashyam, etc., many times you will come across the word Nanu. Nanu is a word which is a avyaya, it is unchangeable. It's not like other words which will decline. There are many such words in Sanskritam. Has several meanings. One of which is objection, but can also be doubt. I'm not sure how to understand this. So, Nanu, you will find many places in the Bhashyam, but here also you find a Nanu. So, presumably, this Nanu is maybe one of the Shishyas asking for clarification. And what is the clarification he is asking for? We will read this and then we will look at what he is asking for and how Acharya explains it later. Nanu Chopanishad Shabdena Adhyetaraha Grantamapi Abhilapanti Upanishadam
Adimahe
Adhyapayama iti cha.
Adhyapayama iti cha.
The objection that he is raising, to which Acharya says, Evam naisha doshaha avidyadi samsara hetu visharana dehe tadidhatvartasya grantamatre sambhavat vidyayam cha sambhavat grantasyapi tadartyena tat shabdatva upapattehe. Actually, I think the Evan Naisha Doshaha should have come a little later. It looks like it's still continuing with the doubt. We will see that. We will see that next class. The objection, not objection, the doubt that perhaps one of the students is raising and how Acharya responds to that doubt. We will see that in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat
Purnamudachyate Purnasya
Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.
Namaste Guruji. Namaste Guruji.